everyone. We can start now. One of the rare NetXMS talks that we start on time. Hello and welcome to the NetXMS Talks. NetXMS 6.2 is going to be launched in just a couple of weeks, and it completes a major milestone on the roadmap to OpenTelemetry, full OTLP log support. NetXMS will be able not only to ingest OTLP logs from other systems, but also export its own events as OTLP logs. With OTLP metrics already supported, there are only traces left, last but definitely not least, and we hope to add it in the major edition number 7, something to look forward to. But today our topic is the one that quietly saves a lot of people a lot of trouble: network device configuration backup. We'll walk you through how it works in NetXMS, the new in-product backup capabilities, as well as improved integration with a commercial product, Unimus, and also new integration with open source product, Oxidized. As usual, there will be a recording of this webinar, and you will be able to watch it on YouTube. Like and subscribe. And now I will pass the word to Victor, and he will start with a little excursion into backup configuration, network device backup configuration. Victor, to you.
Yeah. Hello. So I will share my screen, and let's start with presentation first. So we will talk about network device configuration backup, how it's integrated into NetXMS. So of course everybody knows that it's important, and you like to have the copy of your device backups, and you may want to see changes made to those configurations, and so on. So what we now provide in NetXMS is that we have a common surface for network device configuration backup with different backends. And as of now, we have 3 different backends. It's native dev backup module, then it's Oxidized integration and Unimus integration. All backends implemented as NetXMS server modules. So, how to choose providers? So the native one actually runs by NetXMS. So it is actual backup module that runs as part of NetXMS server. It stores backups into NetXMS database into the separate table. It can retrieve both running and the startup config for devices that support this concept, most notably Cisco. It's also capable of raising configuration change events directly in NetXMS. Scheduling, retention, everything is built into NetXMS server itself. Then we have Oxidized, that is integration module, which basically passes commands to the Oxidized and fetch information back from the Oxidized. And Unimus, same concept. You have a separate product that does backups, and integration module synchronizes configuration and fetches data from the Unimus. Note that Oxidized is part of Community Edition. Unimus is part of Enterprise Edition of NetXMS. Native module, as of now, is part of Enterprise Edition, but we actually considering moving it into Open Source Community Edition, but it's undecided yet. A little bit about different providers, what they do. So as mentioned before, for native, you have everything in NetXMS database, you have events, and that's the only provider with a startup config. For an Oxidized, NetXMS supplies a list of devices, and Oxidized use this information to do actual backup. Oxidized requires model mapping. Tanya will talk more about it. So it has to be resolved by the integration module somehow. NetXMS will just fetch specific version on demand, but it actually store the actual storage is on Oxidized side, and Oxidized exposes only running config. So startup configs and NetXMS change events are not available. And Unimus integration module maps NetXMS nodes to Unimus devices. It supports zoning. NetXMS can reuse existing device in Unimus, or it can create new devices. And the mapping is auto self-repairing, so NetXMS will detect stale mappings and remove it as needed. And as with Oxidized, it's running config only. So startup configs not available, and config change events are not available. Now a little bit more about native provider. It has very limited device support at the moment, so it's not a good idea if you have a lot of different devices. Support for backups done through the same network device driver mechanism, which we use for retrieving vendor-specific information from devices. At the moment, we do support Cisco, iOS, and Nexus, Juniper Junos devices, MikroTik routers, Hirschman switches, and Dell PowerConnect switches. And we are always open to integrate backups for devices you want backup for. As usual, just contact us, and we can arrange some testbed environment where we can test that backup is working. We will be happy to add more devices to this list of supported devices. Backup is happening over SSH, so NetXMS server can use both interactive SSH sessions or SSH common channel to retrieve configuration from the device. There's server-side settings for configuration backup intervals, maximum number of parallel jobs for retention time, and as with some other server-wide configuration options, it can be overridden per node using custom attributes. Backups are deduplicated, so the server will not store same backup day after day. Unchanged configs will only bump the last check timestamp. It will not create a new record in the database. So whenever new row added to the config database, it means that something has changed with the config itself. That's basically the same idea, just in a very detailed way. Fetch hash and then compare hash with the previous version, and that's it. Okay, so now let's look at a little demo for built-in configuration backup. So I connected to my to the server on my laptop, and I have this module loaded. Let me. So basically, this is part of my configuration file from my test server, and you see this, and this is an important part. So all you have to do, you have to load the backup integration module. That backup is a name for the native module, and that's it. It registers itself, and you have the device backup capability. Instead of it, you can load Oxidized or Unimus module. The first module wins, so you cannot have two backup integration modules at the same time, so you have to load exactly one. You can load more than one, but only one will work. And in the user interface, it's pretty simple. You have your network devices. If they are eligible for network configuration backup, you will have the configuration backup view in a device context. It consists of two parts. the list of backups and the content area. So you click on the backup and you go to the content here. You can select 2 backups. Like you see, you have 2 running configs here, and I can choose div, and I will have a div between those 2 versions. So I see that something was removed from the config. And pretty much that's it. You can also run a backup immediately. Basically, you just press it, and the backup job will be scheduled, and the backup will be updated if there are changes. You can filter what devices are eligible for backup using the filter script or hook script. So in the script library, you have the new hook, which is called register for configuration backup. It will be run for each node, and only nodes that return for which script returns true will be registered for backups. I have it very simple. So any node that is SNMP capable and SSH capable passes the filter. It's not entirely correct. You most likely want to also specify the vendors, etc. You may want to exclude like Linux boxes that support SNMP and SSH, but as a test for a test environment, that's perfectly fine. We also have NXSL methods for accessing config, so you actually can request device config from an XSL script. So if you're doing some complex automation or maybe some complex event correlation, you can actually access device configuration from an XSL script, check for something, and process based on this knowledge. So that's all from me, and I pass the stage to Tanya, and she will show Oxidized integration. Tanya?
So Oxidized configuration is done a bit different. First, let me show you the configuration of the server. So in Oxidized, where it is, here it is. So in Oxidized, we connect from the server to Oxidized to get the list of backups and to get the backup itself. By the way, fun fact, while I was configuring everything today, I found out that only latest config was shown because I used incorrect API, and I already fixed it. Fix will be available in 6.2, but yeah, it's a bit pity that no one noticed it before. I hope it will be more popular. But yeah, going back to configuration. So first thing, we are connecting from NetXMS to the Oxidized. So here you can see the URL and some default model. We'll get to this afterwards. And my Oxidized is running here as a Docker container. I've mounted here configuration and SSH keys. And another thing that Oxidized by itself, things like its configuration is done like NetXMS is single source of truth. What nodes do we have and what nodes don't we have? So for this, we should load Oxidized module and we should load web API. And I'm listening on all IP addresses because by default it listens only on localhost. So the idea is that Oxidized, when it starts, it tries to connect to NetXMS and request all the nodes that he needs to collect. The nodes that are in this list are defined by the script Victor already shown in the script library, registered for configuration backup. So here I have a bit different script. So it's if it's SSH and it is router or it is bridge, then the node is registered. Once it's registered, it will be in the list. The list with credentials will be sent to the Oxidized. Oxidized will start to collect them. So now let's go to the Oxidized configuration part. Here are some default configurations how to connect to the devices. We're not really interested in that because everything is passed from the NetXMS. We are not required to resolve DNS because NetXMS passes the IP address, and NetXMS identifies maps the node with Oxidized by its ID. So if the node will change IP address, you will still have the same configuration if the node has the same ID in the system. So if object haven't changed, the history will remain even though IP address has changed. So it was, I think it was good choice to do it like this. So next things, use syslog and debug. So it's we're not using syslog, we're just writing to docker out, and debug is for the test purposes. Important thing, REST. Defining this line exactly says that we should enable REST API. From the Oxidized side is the API where NetXMS will go and request for the configuration, like for the list of what was backupped and for each backup configuration content. Another thing that I've configured here are SSH keys. By default, NetXMS in the API provides only, sorry, not by default. NetXMS API provides only SSH login and password. If you want to use keys, then you are required to configure like single key that Oxidized will fall back. Here it is. And then if login and password does not fit, and like in case if the password is empty, for sure it will not fit, he will fall back to SSH key and will request the node configuration using login and SSH key. Okay. Next thing, here we have sources. So this part exactly responds for Oxidized where to take the nodes that we should backup. Usually it's some backup database that is configured on Oxidized itself. In case of NetXMS, we say that please go to this URL. It's HTTP. If they are not on the same machine, please use HTTPS. And what is authentication? Authentication should be issued from users. So we find the user that has read access on the old nodes that we want. And then we issue authentication token on some period issue. And this token should go to this Oxidized configuration. So here it is. And then we say mapping. Mapping is just mapping between JSON that we sent and the model of Oxidized inside. Basically, this part you just should copy paste. It's like we say that name is a name in JSON, model is a model in JSON, group is a group, and so on and so forth. So this one just can be copied. Those two, those ones should be configured according to your system. Okay, so some SSH configurations. For test purposes, I don't check if it's secure, if I don't check the site. So and output is just like you can decide where do you want to output. In my case, I use Git, and yeah, I just say that here is Git where all the configuration of the Oxidized will be stored. Okay. From the UI perspective, it looks exactly the same. So here I have some Oxidized nodes, and the only difference is that startup config is not backupped because, running config is not backupped because running config usually not backupped by anyone except us, except our internal configurations. So the same. Here we have running configuration. Here for Tiltonica, I can show that in configuration in SSH, I have login and I have key. So you enter SSH key to NetXMS storage, and here you're able to select the key that you want. And as I showed, this key should be the same key is provided inside of Oxidized configuration. Okay, and yeah, here we have from Teltonica, and here we have from Mikrotik. If we'll check here, for example, like this, and we'll check the difference. I was testing it. So here I added a new line, and here we can see that it's changed, the location changed its name. So it's exactly the same as for the internal built-in, but it just requires much more configuration. Some Oxidized specific thing. Oxidized requires mapping by which Oxidized decides how to get this information from the router or from the switch. So basically, I've created some dummy tables. So we go first, we check custom attribute. This attribute can exactly be used for overwriting what Oxidized model to use to get information, because like sometimes you should write like this command, sometimes it's another command, it's different ways how this configuration is given back. That's why Oxidized use these different models. And if I have chosen incorrect one, or if you know that like for some reasons there is another model, you can overwrite it by defining this Oxidized model custom attribute on the node. But by default, we're checking driver name, and by driver name we map that if Cisco Nexus, then it's NXOS, or if it's on Cisco generics, it's iOS model, and so on and so forth. So here is driver to model mapping table. If we don't have drivers, we have this a lot, then we check by system description. Here we have system description pattern of mapping. And if we can't map by system description, we check vendor name, and then we go to default model. So it's the latest fallback, and default model is exactly this configuration in NetXMS config. So basically, if you know that Oxidized is capable of collecting, like if some devices work and some does not work, then most probably it is problem in Oxidized model. Then you can just overwrite it with this custom attribute, or check on these tables and notify us that some kind of mapping can be adjusted, and it's like preferred way for sure. For like sometime you can like use this one, but it's better to encode it inside of NetXMS and enhance this module to auto detect all the stuff. Okay, basically that's it. It's a lot of configuration.
Yeah. Okay, Doc. I see that as of now, there are no any questions. So I think you guys were extremely clear this time. So also, please use this functionality and ask us any questions on our forum or in the Telegram support group. NetXMS is largely a community effort, and we are glad to cooperate. That would be it for now. And I see you on our next webinar. Have a nice day.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
Nice day. Bye.
Bye.